I used to be the most dazzling young lady from a wealthy family in N City, with a paternity test report. I was driven to the countryside. I was brutally beaten by my biological father and brother. The childhood sweetheart I had been chasing for 10 years hated me to the core. Later, Leo asked me if I still loved him. I tugged at the rabbit ears and looked at him in confusion. Who are you? On the day I was brought back, I turned my head and looked at myself in the car window. My chin was pointed, and my face was thin. There was no trace of the arrogant young lady's glory from 3 years ago. My brother Nathan, who was sitting in the front seat, looked at me with disgust. Who are you pretending to be pitiful for? It's just that you've been in the countryside for 3 years. You stole Nancy's identity for 20 years. This is just a little bit of the interest now. According to my old temper, I would definitely have a quarrel with him, and slapping him would even be considered lenient. But I was no longer the proud and willful young lady of the Wilson family. I silently curled my hands tightly, grasped the yellowed hem of my clothes, and showed weakness. I understand. When we got out of the car, Nathan asked the driver to wash the car. He thought I was dirty. The car drove directly to the club. This brother who used to be close to me wanted to humiliate me by leaving me here. Let's go. I didn't have the right to say no. The moment I entered the private room, my fingers went numb. I faced Leo directly, the man I had loved recklessly for 10 years. At that time, everyone in N City knew that I had to be with Leo. I pestered him persistently, without any sense of shame. Leo hated people who were clingy, yet I was so audacious. 3 years had passed, and he had become more composed and reserved. His whole body exuded an imposing aura, and he was incredibly noble. Why is she here? The man's voice was obviously displeased. The others also looked over. Who is this person? Why is she so rustic? Someone recognized me. Isn't this the daughter of the Wilson family from 3 years ago? How did she end up like this? She was pestering our Leo before and still hasn't given up. Yeah, she doesn't even look at whether she's worthy or not. Our Leo has already been engaged to Sister Nancy. You have no chance. Everyone was waiting to see me make a fool of myself. The more proud and radiant I was 3 years ago, the more embarrassed I was at this moment. I bit my bitter lips. I was so audacious before. I won't pester you anymore in the future. I hope Mr. Leo will be magnanimous and let me off. Leo slightly raised his eyebrows. He thought I had come to find him, and the surprise in his eyes disappeared in an instant. Why did you come back? Obviously, he didn't plan to let me go. I clenched my fingers and lowered my head to hide my unease. It's what my parents meant. I took a deep breath and said solemnly again, I already know I was wrong. I promise that in the future, I will never pester you again, and I will never get close to Nancy, as long as he didn't drive me out of N City and back to the countryside. His tone was very cold. If you do it again, no one can protect you. I understand. I ignored the mockery in everyone's eyes and smiled. Then I wish Mr. Leo and Miss Nancy a happy marriage and an early birth of a precious child. It was a sincere blessing. But Leo's face turned even uglier. Get lost. Nathan was still standing by and watching the show. He had achieved his goal of humiliating me. It was already the harsh winter in N City. The clothes I was wearing were thin, just a worn-out thin coat that had been washed many times. Obviously, Nathan didn't plan to take me home. It was at least 15 kilometers from here to the Wilson family's villa. It was possible to walk back on foot. I wrapped my coat tightly around me. It was already 3 hours later when I got home, and no one opened the door for me. Fiona, who was standing at the door, was hesitant and didn't know whether she should open the door or not. I just stood there and told her it was okay. I asked her to go back first. It started snowing in the middle of the night. I hid under the road sign, looking like a stray dog without a home. 3 years ago, everyone thought that I had hired someone to destroy Nancy's hand. Leo used a paternity test report to send me to hell with his own hands. My biological father was a gambler and an alcoholic. When he got drunk and came home, he would press me to the ground and beat me. As the eldest sister, I had to work part-time to earn a lot of money to support my younger brother's studies. If I didn't have the money, they would beat me together. I had experienced countless times when my life was on the verge of death. I called Leo and begged him to take me home, but he either hung up the phone or asked me, "Do you know you were wrong?" But what was my fault? At first, I was young and full of spirit and refused to admit my mistake because I didn't do it. But until one time when I was almost beaten to death by my biological father, my knuckles were trembling as I picked up the phone and dialed that number that I knew by heart again. I said, "I know I was wrong." I said, Could you take me home? Leo paused for a moment. That's where your home is. Stop making trouble. The past rushed before my eyes in an instant. The past reversed in front of me. And I couldn't tell if I was in the world or in hell, so no matter what, I couldn't go back to the countryside. I didn't dare to pester Leo. I just wanted to live an ordinary and stable life. The wind and snow became stronger in the middle of the night. I was shivering with cold, and my body started to get hot. The old scars on my body that had been there for years faintly burned, and the frostbite on my hands that had been there for years started to itch. It itched so much that I couldn't help scratching it. The slender and delicate hands from 3 years ago were now red and swollen, looking like sausages. I curled up into a ball, so cold that I lost my senses. It felt like my lungs were covered with white frost, and the feeling of suffocation was very strong. I was delirious with fever. It wasn't until the sun came out that someone opened the door. Do you know you were wrong? This was the first thing my father asked me. I nodded. My mother was crying beside me. Kathy, you must have been frozen, right? Over the years, your temper has always been bad. Your father said last night that he wanted you to temper your temper. I shook my head. My vision was blurred. I pinched the palm of my hand to keep myself from falling down. I'm fine. The hot air I exhaled was burning. I bit the dry dead skin on my lips and smelled the smell of blood. Nathan also sneered. I don't know what's wrong with her. As soon as she came back, she put on this act, making it seem like someone was bullying her. I replied silently, there's nothing like that. I was afraid that if the unbearable past of those 3 years was revealed, it would be even more humiliating. My father was the first to lose patience. Go upstairs and rest first, and change your clothes. You look like a mess. I had a high fever that wouldn't go down. It lasted until the next evening. I was delirious with fever. When I saw a figure in the dark, I instinctively hugged my head tightly. I know I was wrong. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Kathy, what are you going crazy for? I was like a person drowning, suddenly gasping for breath. Then I took big gulps of air, and my whole body went numb. Nathan's face showed impatience. Kathy, what are you pretending for? They didn't know that in that winter, I worked part-time frequently and damaged my lungs, and I had asthma, probably because of last night. It relapsed. I wanted to live. The doctor said that if it happened a few more times, my life would be in danger, but I couldn't stop. I felt the smell of blood welling up in my chest. A trace of panic flashed in Nathan's eyes. Later, my mind went numb. I only knew that I was taken to the hospital. After I woke up, the nurse reminded me to see the doctor. The doctor told me to take the medicine for treatment as soon as possible. There were several serious cases of pulmonary fibrosis, and he wanted to prescribe some medicine for me. I saw that one medicine cost several hundred. In total, it would cost several thousand. Subconsciously, I pushed the receipt back. Doctor, I'm still young and I'll be fine. Can you prescribe cheaper medicine? He looked at me and shook his head. But he finally changed the prescription. I could still afford a few hundred yuan. At the end of the corridor, I saw Leo, who was accompanying Nancy. The real daughter of the Wilson family had also become dignified and noble after a few years. They looked well-matched and suitable for each other. Nancy's voice was gentle, and she looked at me with full of concern. Sister, are you not feeling well? What kind of sisters were we? But Leo's eyes also swept over. I instinctively took half a step back. Before, I was happy even if Leo just glanced at me. Now he was as terrifying as a ghost coming to claim my life. I didn't know you were in this hospital. I'm sorry, I'll go to another place next time. After saying that, I leaned to one side, hurriedly left. The doctor who gave me the medicine saw that I was thin and also reminded me to take the medicine well, eat more good food, pay more attention to my body, and live happily. My fingers went numb. Shouldn't these words be said to someone who is beyond cure? I shook this thought out of my head. When I went out, I met Nathan. He was standing at the car door. I instinctively bypassed him. Nathan came around again and blocked me. Are you going to walk home? I said in a low voice. I didn't know Nancy was also in this hospital. I won't come here again in the future. You don't have to mind. I tried my best to avoid him. Nathan's chest heaved. Are you going to walk back from so far away? I knew my body couldn't take it. I probably couldn't walk back. I'll take a taxi. Nathan grabbed the medicine bag in my hand. Do you believe I'll throw it away? He suddenly touched the frostbite on my hand, and I winced in pain. Nathan was still as hateful as ever, but the medicine cost money, so I compromised and got in the car. I spread my coat on a small part of the back seat and sat on it. I was afraid of being disliked again. Nathan frowned and looked at me. He reached out and pulled my coat out directly, threw it out. And it landed right in the trash can by the roadside. There's no need for a torn coat, I'm warning you. Nancy is going to marry Leo, don't cause any more trouble. Everyone wanted me to give in to her. But what exactly had I done? I instinctively wanted to open the door and get out, but Nathan grabbed me. Are you trying to kill yourself? I had bought that coat with the money I had saved bit by bit from my part-time jobs. I had worn it for 3 years. How could someone like him, who grew up in an ivory tower, understand? My chest heaved violently with anger. With red eyes, I slapped Nathan. Stop the car. The driver stopped the car in a panic. The moment I pushed the door and got out of the car, Nathan reached out to grab me and raised his hand to hit me. I instinctively squatted down and assumed a protective posture, firmly protecting my head. Nathan stopped and let out a cold snort. He broke open the medicine bottle, and white pills fell on my head one by one. I actually had some pity for you, but you're extremely shameless. Even when you're sick, you're still trying to seduce Leo. People like you should just die. Should I just die? I looked up blankly and saw the disgust in his eyes, which stabbed at my heart. My former brother. I didn't know when he had hated me so much. I didn't need to think to know the reason. Nancy must have whispered something in his ear. I didn't defend myself. The bottles and jars were thrown on the ground, and the white pills scattered everywhere. With a loud slamming of the car door, Nathan left swaggeringly. I squatted on the ground and picked up the dusty medicine pills one by one and put them back into the bottle. There was no one around. I was left behind again. I found the coat in the trash can not far away, patted off the dust, and put it on again. I crouched on the ground and it took me a long time to recover. Finally, I turned on the navigation on my phone and walked home step by step. As Nancy's wedding was approaching, everyone was busy, but my mother was busy finding a partner for me. It was the young master of the Smith family. The first time we met, he clearly showed that he looked down on me. I proposed a business marriage. We could cooperate. You can do whatever you want, and I will never interfere. What's in it for me? You won't be pressured to get married before, according to my conditions. The Smith family was just a small family that wasn't considered a good match. They didn't even have the qualification to come and propose marriage. It was different now. Someone was willing to marry me. I might be able to stay in N City. At least Leo would be at ease, knowing that I wouldn't have any more delusions about him. The young master of the Smith family smiled sneeringly. Well, okay then. You have to be available whenever I call. Sure. Simon had been chasing a female celebrity recently. Maybe he hadn't succeeded in getting her for a long time. He deliberately asked me to act with him to stimulate the person he liked. I said it was no problem, but during the warm yellow candlelight dinner in the hotel, he held up my forehead. He wanted to kiss me. I stepped back slightly without being noticed. He said lightly, "Do you think I really want to kiss you? It's so disgusting." "I know, it's just an act." I turned my head and saw Leo standing at the door. I didn't know how long he had been standing there or how long he had been watching. All I knew was that his face was gloomy. Alarm bells rang in my heart, and I turned sideways to leave. Leo was one step ahead and grabbed my wrist tightly. His strength was so great that it seemed like he was going to break my hand. "You've already found another person so quickly. Leo would never have touched me before." "Mr. Leo, please behave yourself." Logically speaking, he should be happy that I wasn't getting close to him, but Leo's face was still gloomy. He dragged me into the car and threw me in. I sat uneasily in the corner. The man pressed the lighter, making it go on and off. Finally, he asked me in a low voice, "Kathy, 3 years ago, when you said you liked me and chased after me, was it all fake?" Fear made my heart beat violently. He had also warned me 3 years ago. "If I hear you say you like me again, I'll make you pay the price." I've tasted the bitter fruit. It was all fake. Everything was fake. I remembered that snowy and windy night. The only gift Leo ever gave me was a worthless necklace. When I was working part-time washing dishes, it broke and fell into the sewer. I searched along the stinky ditch but couldn't find it. I knelt in the snow, my hands turning red from digging. The biting wind blew at my heart. The pain made it hard to breathe. I clutched my chest and cried bitterly. It was the first time in 3 years that I cried so heartbreakingly. It was as if at that moment I finally understood that giving up something could also be extremely painful, and that was just a piece of charity that Leo casually threw to me on my birthday, yet I protected it like a treasure year after year. When it was lost in the 3rd year, it seemed to be reminding me, These years were enough. I took a breath and said softly. My shamelessness has come to an end. I thought Leo would heave a sigh of relief, but his brows were furrowed, and there was no sign of joy on his face. Mr. Leo, have you finished asking your questions? He pinched the center of his brows, and the driver let me go. When I came out, my whole body went limp, and I realized that now I only felt fear towards Leo. The next day, Simon asked me out. We met on the film set. The female celebrity was filming a scene where she had to go into the water. In the cold winter, her face turned pale after she got into the water. Simon didn't care about me and ran to fawn over her. Nancy was also there, claiming to be there for a visit. She walked up to me and changed her expression. Look, he already has someone he likes. 3 years ago and 3 years later, Kathy, you're still as shameless as ever. 3 years ago, she was duplicitous, and I was already used to it. I didn't understand why, even though she had everything, she still wouldn't let me go. I softened my tone. If you don't like me, I can stay out of your sight. Nancy's beautiful and flamboyant features stood in sharp contrast to my sallow and thin face reflected in the glass door. Don't. I want you to watch Brother Leo marry me. Taste the feeling of having the person you love the most taken away. Once I thought that watching him marry someone else would make me miserable, but now there was only sadness left in my heart. Okay. I turned around and saw Leo. When did he appear? And how much did he hear? Simon looked at the shivering female celebrity and was shouting for a stand-in. No one on the set was willing to film this scene. This was just a way for Simon to force the female celebrity to compromise. Nancy pushed me. Before, didn't you say you wanted to enter the entertainment industry, sister? I instinctively looked at Leo. He squinted his eyes, his expression cold. Go ahead. Simon is looking for you. He tacitly approved and connived. I took half a step back and had no choice but to go to Simon. Didn't you say you'd do anything I asked? Simon looked at me and said, be her stand-in. I turned to look at Leo. He heard it but showed no intention of stopping me. He just sat there openly, playing with the lighter in his hand. Begging for mercy from Leo would only lead to a worse outcome. They could crush an ordinary person as easily as crushing an ant. I compromised. The female celebrity had requirements for every shot. She was a benchmark in the industry. The moment I forced myself into the water, the icy water was extremely oppressive, seeping into my lungs from all over my body. In just a moment, I couldn't breathe, my legs went weak, and the dense water engulfed me, filling my nose and mouth. My consciousness was hazy, and there was a lot of noise in my ears. My mind was also in chaos. You bitch. You didn't save a single penny in the Wilson family all these years. You're a loser, a loser. That was the first time I knew there were so many ugly words in the world. I didn't know why I couldn't control my breathing. My lungs were like a broken bellows. I just felt as if my body was floating, my internal organs ached, and my chest also hurt. In a daze, I saw Leo pick me up from the water. There was a taste of blood in my throat. With a violent cough, I spat out a large mouthful of blood. I remembered what the doctor said. It was both sad and heartbreaking, and I couldn't help but laugh. I shakily held my blood-stained hand in front of him. Leo, I'm going to die. Are you happy? Just like I used to. I laid out my heart for him. Leo, look at me. I really liked you. It was just as disgusting as before. You won't die. For the first time, I heard a tremble in his voice. At that moment, there was a trace of hope in my heart. Could it be that he cared about me a little bit and was willing to let me off? When I woke up again, I saw Nancy standing at the door of the ward. Looking at me with a cold expression, Leo kicked the door open, his chest heaving. He threw the examination film on my face. Is it fun to lie to me? I clutched the quilt and lowered my head, wanting to hide myself. He wouldn't let me escape. He grabbed my collar and forced me to look up at him. Can this little shadow kill you? It was just this little shadow, pulmonary fibrosis, which was much larger than last time. I gave a bleak smile. I was just joking, Leo sneered. His eyes filled with anger at being played with. Of course, evildoers naturally live a long time. I tried to pull his hand away, but Leo was holding on too tightly, and my collar was pulled open. My eyes instantly turned red, and I panicked and tried to cover myself with my hands. But Leo had already seen it clearly. He pried my arms apart, exposing the tattoo on my collarbone. The 3 English letters, Leo, along with the designed rose logo seemed to nail me to the pillar of shame. I was too scared of the pain and didn't have the money to remove the tattoo these years. Leo choked my neck. The disgust in his eyes was obvious. Didn't you say you don't love me anymore, Kathy? I hate it the most when others pester me, and I also hate it the most when others lie to me, and you make me sick. I felt uneasy in my heart. I know, I'm sorry, I'll have the tattoo removed today. I know I was wrong, no need, I can help you. Leo, who couldn't find an outlet for his anger, seemed to have found an outlet. I saw him pick up the fruit knife on the bedside table. I instinctively begged for mercy. Leo, don't. His eyes were sinister and cruel. He bent down and held my hands firmly behind my back. He forced me to tilt my head back, exposing the area on my collarbone close to my heart, and firmly held me down. Leo, I'm begging you, don't. I really know I was wrong. I'll have the tattoo removed by myself tomorrow. No, I'll go today. I won't pester you anymore. I won't make you feel disgusted anymore. Just this once. I really know I was wrong. My chest heaved violently, and my breathing was loud. I was even a little out of breath while saying these words. Tears ran down the corners of my eyes and into my hairline. Leo's black eyes were very deep. If you do something wrong and lie to me, you should pay the price. Leo didn't stop. A sharp and piercing pain came from below my collarbone, which was far less painful than the ache in my heart. There was only hatred left in my heart. Ignoring the knife stabbing in, I opened my mouth and bit down hard on the side of Leo's neck. He twisted the handle of the knife forcefully to make me let go. In just a moment, it was like being tortured. Those 3 characters were forcefully gouged out, and there was blood everywhere. My whole body was shaking, and cold sweat dripped down my forehead drop by drop. There was no more cruel torture in the world. In the 10 years that I chased after him, I never imagined the Leo who was tough on the outside and gentle on the inside would one day use those means on me. Leo finally let me go. I slumped onto the bed, breathing more heavily than usual and unable to say a word. Nathan rushed in and saw the bloody scene. He shouted loudly, Leo, that's enough. He wiped the bloodstains on the knife unhurriedly. What? Are you feeling sorry for her? Nathan, 3 years ago, it was her who disabled your biological sister's hand. It was already a leniency not to send her to prison. Now this is just a little bit of the interest. I struggled to move over and covered myself tightly with the quilt. I covered my body with my clothes. I was so afraid that they would see my dirty and despicable body. The wound was soaked in cold sweat, and the pain made me lose my senses. Finally, they all left. The nurse came in and saved my life. They knew Leo's identity. In the face of his power and status, no one dared to speak. I recuperated for a long time, so long that I thought it would be nice to live like this. Until Nancy sent me an invitation to her wedding. Leo accompanied her personally to send the invitation, claiming to be inviting me to their wedding. Now, just seeing him makes me break out in a cold sweat. The scarred wound itches and hurts. As soon as Leo took a step forward, I was so scared that I stepped back. I'll go. I was forced to put on the clothes that Nancy had arranged for me. Just before the wedding ceremony started, Nancy stood on the second floor. I didn't want to go up, I don't know why, but my high school diary was in Nancy's hands. If you don't want Leo to know your dirty thoughts, come up obediently. If he knew that I had such thoughts about him since high school, he definitely wouldn't let me go. I put on the ill-fitting bridesmaid dress and went up to the second floor. I saw her shaking the sealed diary in her hand. I don't know what method she used to crack the password. Give it back to me. Nancy's eyes were cold. If you jump down from here, I'll burn it, and that secret will never be known to anyone. I'm no longer a threat to you. Why won't you let me go? Is that so? Nancy pretended to throw the notebook down. Below was the center of the crowd. There was also a hidden thing in the diary that couldn't be made public. If I jumped down and survive, lying in the hospital would also be a kind of stability. After they get married, they should stop spite me. Okay, I promise you. Just as I was stepping back with the determination to face death, Nancy suddenly pulled me. Behind us were 2 flights of stairs, each with more than a dozen steps, a total of 20 or 30 steps. At that moment, my instinct made me grab her hand and try to pull myself up. In an instant, Nancy released her grip, and we both rolled down the stairs together. It was as if I had personally pulled her down from the high place, and Nancy held me tightly, maintaining a posture of protecting me. This was her usual trick. I thought she just wanted to tease me and make me look ridiculous. I never imagined that she would use her long-awaited wedding with Leo as a gamble to frame me. There was a gasp from the audience, and everyone looked over. I stumbled to my feet. Nancy was bleeding from her mouth and crying. I just wanted to hold my sister back. I didn't expect her to pull me. Before I could stand firm, Nathan kicked me. My head hit the handrail of the stairs. My chest hurt. I couldn't see clearly. And I just felt a lot of chaos. Nathan was as angry as he was 3 years ago. Leo's face was terrifying. He pulled me up. I couldn't help but step back. Nathan still seemed to be questioning me sternly. Everything in front of me was like a horse pantomime, with the mute button pressed. I felt terrible, but I couldn't speak. Leo just pulled gently, and the zipper on the back of my bridesmaid dress opened. The hideous scars on my back were exposed. I felt the shocked and gossipy gazes around me. All I felt was shame and disgust, and instinctively, I wanted to hug myself tightly. But with Leo there, I felt like I had nowhere to hide. I wanted to run away, like a mouse scurrying around. They all knew. I opened my mouth and said silently. Leo stopped. He seemed to be calling me, but I couldn't hear anything. I was so scared that I kept stepping back. Finally, I missed a step and fell down the stairs on the platform below. My head buzzed, and the pain slowly spread throughout my body. I looked at them from a distance, panicking and staring at Nancy. I was the one who met Leo first, and I was the one who met my brother first. Why doesn't anyone like me? I think I'm really a failure. I felt something wriggling behind my head. I instinctively reached out to touch it, and my hand was covered in bright red blood. After a long time, Leo came over to look at me. He was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't know what to do. His usually cold and bony hands were shaking. I gave him a bleak smile and said weakly, "Leo, this time you really got what you wanted." Leo didn't seem to be very happy either. He picked me up, and his chest seemed to be trembling. "Kathy, don't fall asleep, Kathy." But I just felt tired. When my eyelids were lifted and the light and noise of the surgery filled the air, for a moment, I seemed to hear Leo shouting hoarsely, "Please, you must save her." I must have heard wrong. Didn't he cause all this to me? There will never be someone he regards as a disgrace in the world again. He should be happy. At the moment when the light diminished sharply, scenes from the past flashed before my eyes. When I was 13, I went to and from school with Leo. He always had a stern face, but I thought every move of his was so cool. When I was 15, it was the first time I had my period. Leo took off his school uniform jacket and gave it to me to cover myself. That summer vacation, it was the first time I had tutoring, and it was with him. It was the first time I gave him a birthday present, with the simple thoughts of a young girl. When he was 18, he blocked nearly 10 hooligans and protected me. So many firsts in life were with him and me. The lively and bright me and the dazzling and handsome Leo vanished in the blink of an eye. When I woke up, everything felt so strange. I couldn't remember who I was. My perception was also very limited. I always stared out the window in a daze. The weather was gloomy, and it was raining again. I really hate the rain. It gives me a headache. For example, now, I'm lying on the bed, feeling weak all over, sweating from the pain. The piece of flesh under my collarbone also hurts. There is an ugly mark there. It's not smooth to the touch, and I really don't like it. I looked at the white little rabbit in front of the bed and couldn't help but lean over and rub against it. I really can't fall asleep because of the pain. If the nurse sister finds out, she will give me some pills. When I fall asleep, I won't feel the pain. Occasionally, a strange person comes and gives me a bunch of flowers. I dislike him the most. He always likes to ask me, do I still remember him? Just thinking about it makes my head hurt. The grandma in the next bed said that those who make you feel pain for no reason are all bad people. The person in front of me wearing a long black coat must be a bad person. Even when he gave me my favorite forest cake and I was really happy eating it, when he wanted to reach out and touch me, I would instinctively dodge. Every time this happened, a strange emotion would show in the strange person's eyes, and his eyes would be as red as a rabbit's. He would hold me tightly like he was possessed and say that he was wrong, that he really knew he was wrong. It was too tight, and I couldn't breathe. So I bit him without hesitation. The strange person was forced to let me go, and his eyes looked pitiful. Just when I thought something was wrong, he was so stubborn that he asked me to bite him again. I always thought that most people in our ward didn't have a clear mind, but I think he also seems to need to live with us, and maybe he should be force-fed some pills. By the way, his eyes were getting redder and redder, like a mutated rabbit, and I was even more afraid of him. "You'd better not come next time. He won't listen." Later, there was a little brother with a crew cut standing at the door. My instinct was to get close to him. He came with handcuffs on, and he looked at me in a very strange way. His eyes were red and filled with tears. It was a long time later that I realized that it was regret and guilt. I just didn't understand him. He stood at the door and looked at me for a very long time. Every night, when the caregiver rolled up my sleeves and helped me wipe and take a bath, she would always let out a sigh. Her eyes were red, and it just made my nose feel sour. She was just a girl in her 20s. Why did she have to suffer so much? I didn't understand what she meant. I just saw that everyone else's arms were white, tender, and smooth. On my arm, there were ugly and dark marks, and I would always unconsciously scratch at them, as if I really hated these twisted and ugly marks. The strange person would sometimes stay with me at night. He opened a notebook. It looked a bit familiar to me, but I just couldn't remember it. He would also tell me stories. He said that there was once a little girl who saved a down-and-out child. Later, the child became successful, but she didn't dare to say anything. He asked me if the little girl was stupid. I instinctively replied, "Not everyone expects something good in return. Some people just don't care about getting repayment from others." This was the first time I said such a complete sentence. The strange person laughed and then cried. I was blind. At that time, I coerced her not to say anything, and she really didn't. If I had known earlier, I didn't ask about the follow-up, and I didn't want to know. I could only see the tears keep falling from his face. I felt contemptuous. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by the pain again. I hid under the quilt and cried. The quilt was lifted, and the strange person looked at me nervously. Soon, the whole floor was lit up, and people gradually filled the room. I vaguely heard someone speaking. "There's no way around it. The damage to the back of her head is severe, which affects her intelligence. We did communicate this consequence with you at that time. In addition, the stimulation was very severe at that time, and her psychological barrier of self-protection completely collapsed. She's already in a good state like this now." The strange person didn't get angry as usual. He seemed to look at me with a bit of weariness. His eyes were so red that it made people feel scared when they saw him. I hid under the quilt. After another month, I moved to a new place. I lived in a very big room. There were rabbits everywhere in it, but I felt that every rabbit was staring at me. I refused to stay there and made a fuss. He changed a place for me. There was only my rabbit and a small bed. I liked to lie in the warm sun, holding the rabbit and sleeping. After a while, the bandage on my head was removed. My chest still felt itchy and painful. I couldn't help scratching at it. He noticed and told me not to touch it. After realizing that he couldn't do anything about me, I would do exactly what he didn't want me to do. If he didn't want me to be barefoot, I would be barefoot. If he didn't want me to scratch, I would scratch anyway. I don't like that mark. If he asks me to take the medicine, I won't take it. I don't want to take the medicine even if it hurts. I always have an attack when it rains. The pain is so intense that it feels like something is prying at my head. I can only relieve it a little by scratching my chest frantically. After getting through the night, my body was burning hot, and I sweated a lot. I was all sticky, and I couldn't stop coughing even in my dreams. When the strange person changed my clothes, he found that my chest was full of scratch marks. His face looked terrifying. "Kathy, didn't I tell you?" I had a breakdown and made a scene. I said I didn't like it. I didn't like it. "I don't want to live with you. Go away." The strange person's eyebrows and eyes trembled little by little. He seemed extremely helpless. He hugged me tightly, and his breathing was shaking. "Kathy, I really know I was wrong. Please don't be like this, okay? I'm just like this. I don't want to pay attention to him." He stroked the scar on my back, kissed it gently, and asked me sadly, "Kathy, do you still love me?" I hugged my little rabbit tightly and pushed him away. "Who are you?" The strange person laughed and cried at the same time. "I'm Leo. You used to like me the most. I don't like you, and I will never like you." I shouted at him. I saw Leo lower his head in a helpless way, looking very sad, but I didn't want to care at all. My instinct told me that he was a bad person and I wasn't safe by his side. I wasn't allowed to enter the study, but I entered the study anyway. I found a piece of paper with a rose pattern on it. It was exactly the same as the tattoo pattern on my body. There was also a portrait of a woman next to it. She didn't look like me at all. I remembered the book I had flipped through a couple of days ago. They call this a substitute. I should have had a reaction in my subconscious, but I didn't feel anything in my heart. Leo always came back very late and would kiss the rose on my chest. I just felt it was very hot. It made me itch, and I was very uncomfortable. I always resisted, but he ignored my wishes again and again. The headache was driving me crazy. Once, a woman came to the villa. She looked at me sarcastically. It seems that you're really crazy and have become a fool. You're such an idiot. Leo just likes your appearance that looks like mine. The rose is also my favorite. He couldn't marry me. So he keeps you by his side. Yeah, he won't let me go anywhere. Isn't he just keeping me in this big house? I remembered that the person on the paper also looked a bit like the woman in front of me. I stared at the rose on my chest every day. When the aunt wasn't around, I got a fruit knife. I tried it, and it hurt a lot. It was as painful as if I was cutting off a large piece of flesh. It was only a little less painful than the headache, but I cut open the skin and flesh. At the moment when I resolutely gouged it out, I felt much more relaxed all over. This time, I stood at the door. Blood ran down my collar and spread all the way to my lower abdomen. The pain seemed to be blocked. I saw Leo walk up to me. I pulled open the wound on my collar. Can you please not come to find me again in the future? I'm not like anyone else, and I don't like living with you at all. After I woke up, my mind was very slow, and even my speech was slow. I saw Leo looking at me in disbelief. Does it hurt? I shook my head. No, it doesn't hurt at all. His breathing was messy and rapid, as if he was about to cry. He held my shoulders and said to me, Kathy, that day, I wasn't the groom, I was the best man. As long as you want, we can get married. What you wanted before. Looking at the person in front of me with tears all over his face, I didn't feel anything. I don't understand what you're saying. I don't know which word broke him. Leo's body suddenly froze. His tall figure seemed to collapse in an instant. The emotions in his eyes were very complex. It was a long time later that I realized it was a plea. Kathy, I'm begging you not to be like this. I really know I was wrong. I can give you everything you want, but I don't want to live with you. I repeated stubbornly. Leo finally compromised. I lived in a villa in the mountains for 3 years. During that time, an old man and an old woman came to see me. They called me daughter. I also felt extremely strange. Kathy, we didn't know that scoundrel would treat you like that. Your parents have already sent them to prison. I instinctively pulled my hand back. The little golden retriever wagged its tail and started to drive the outsiders away, barking very loudly. It even raised its foot as if to kick them away. There was a nest of rabbits around. I didn't even look at their backs. Another 3 years passed, and it became more and more difficult for me to breathe. I entered that small room again. I saw Leo. His hair turned white overnight. He was always shouting at people loudly, and I slept for longer and longer periods of time. He finally seemed to accept the reality. His voice was choked with sobs. Kathy, in the next life, let me make up for you. Okay. At the last moment of the cerebral hemorrhage, I was actually sober for a moment. I coldly and firmly pulled my hand back. No need, Kathy. I closed my eyes. I was too tired to listen to him. He talked by my side for a long time. He said that many years ago, he was secretly harmed by people from the main family and was blocked in an alley by hooligans. The person who saved him was me, but at that time, he couldn't break with the main family, so he asked me not to say anything. As a result, later he thought it was Nancy who saved him and indulged her in doing many things that hurt me. He said that he never wanted to marry anyone else. It was just that he realized it too late. He didn't like it when I pestered him, but in the 3 years after I left, he always felt that there was an emptiness in his heart. That time, when I said I was going to die, he lost control, knelt on the ground and begged them to save me, and many people saw it. Finally, when he heard the doctor say that I was okay, he felt so ashamed that he treated me like that, hoping to teach me a lesson. He also said that after Nathan was sent to prison, he repented and wanted to see me, but he refused. Nancy was actually my father's illegitimate daughter. She escaped on her own that day and came to mock me on purpose. The matter of the hooligans before had also been investigated clearly. It was all a scheme directed and acted out by Nancy. He told me all these things, with hope in his eyes. Does it matter? Leo was speechless. I saw my withered and lifeless appearance in his eyes. I would rather we had never met. The light in Leo's eyes gradually faded away. I was thinking that from the very beginning. Leo wasn't completely heartless. Otherwise, Nancy wouldn't have wanted to kill me, and I wouldn't have been ruined for my whole life. The sound of the instruments in my ears faded away. My consciousness returned to chaos. 3 days later, the TV news reported that Leo, the heir of the Lincoln family, attended the memorial service for his fiancée in the morning 3 days ago and died in a car crash on the mountain road. The specific cause of the accident remains to be verified at the scene. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.